After a long day of work, all he wanted to do was relax. But his son came running into his study with way too much energy for him to handle. "Daddy, can I ask you a question?" "Sure, what is it?" "How much money do you make in an hour?" "That's none of your business. Why are you asking?" I just want to know. Can you please tell me?" "If you must know, I make $300 an hour." "Oh," he said with his head down. "Daddy, can I please borrow $250? And the father was furious. "If the only reason you asked me that is so you can borrow some money to buy a silly toy or some other nonsense, then you march yourself straight to your room and go to bed. And think about why you're being so selfish. I work hard every day and I don't have time for this childish behavior." So the little boy went to his room with his head hanging and shut the door. And the man sat down and began to feel even angrier about his little boy's question. How dare he ask such questions only to get some money? But after about an hour, he calmed down and he started to think, maybe there's something his son really needed to buy with that $250. After all, he didn't ask for money very often. And the man therefore went to his little boy's room and opened the door. "Are you asleep, son?" "No, Daddy, I'm awake." "I've been thinking, and maybe I was too hard on you earlier. It's been a long day, and I took my aggravation out on you. Here's the $250 you asked for." The little boy sat straight up smiling. "Oh, thank you, Daddy." And then reaching under his pillow, he pulled out some crumpled bills. The man saw that the boy already had money, so he was a bit confused. And the boy slowly counted out his money and then looked up at his father. "Daddy, I have $300 now. Can I buy an hour of your time? Would you please come home early tomorrow? I'd like to play with you." The father felt like he'd been hit by a ton of bricks. Holding back tears, he slowly put his arm around his son. "Keep the money. Tomorrow, I'll be home 2 hours early to play." And as he walked away, he promised himself that from now on, his son would never feel this way again. And this story leads us to the deep topic of connection and relationships. Because there's a widespread problem that plagues humanity, leaving us lonely and disconnected. Many people live their lives in a state of ego, a state of mind in which one views themselves as an isolated being inside their own body, their own mind, their own world, alone and independent. And the consequences of this state of mind are obvious. Because since everyone else in the world is separate from us, we therefore will feel disconnected from them. We'll also likely feel the need to compete with them, to beat them, in order to gain self-worth, in order to convince ourselves that we're good enough. And this often means pushing others down just to feel like we're better than them. We might even hate certain people, or even go so far as to hurt them because they don't make us feel good, or perhaps because they challenge our own self-worth. But most of all, this state of consciousness leaves us lonely, abandoned, and empty. However, there's another option. Rather than succumbing to separation and isolation, we can choose to live in a state of soul, a state of oneness. And this means living with the understanding that while we're each unique individuals, at our spiritual and existential core, we are all one. At root, we are an interconnected self, a single consciousness with a single soul. This is the concept of Klal Yisrael, a single unified self. The Rambam states the one who disconnects himself from the Jewish people has no portion in the world to come. And this is intuitive, though, because Klal Yisrael is one entity, a single body, a single self. If a leaf falls from a tree, it withers. If a finger is detached from its body, it dies. If you remove yourself from your source of existence, you cease to exist. However, it's clear that most people don't experience this state of oneness. We don't naturally perceive ourselves as part of a cosmic self. In fact, the starting point of every person's state is ego and selfishness. And research has shown that children perceive themselves as the center of the universe and believe that they are all that exists. It's only with time that they come to realize that they are but one of billions of people existing in this world, each with their own unique life experience and inner world. However, many people cease their existential and experiential growth at that point. They don't expand further, breaking down the boundaries of consciousness, realizing that they aren't an isolated being, but are rather a part of a bigger whole. They live the rest of their lives as an ego, alone, hollow inside. So the question becomes, how do we break down the walls of our limited ego to expand our sense of self outwards? And the key to this deep principle lies in Parshas Teruma. Parshas Truma is characterized by the voluntary gifts that the Jewish people donate towards the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, which is the place where Hashem most potently manifests in the physical world. The emphasis of these donations is their voluntary nature. Hashem commands Moshe to collect from Klal Yisrael whatever their hearts inspire them to give. And Rashi explains that in addition to the required contribution, Hashem allowed them to give whatever they personally felt compelled to donate. So why is this so? Why not specify a required amount? So to answer this question, we have to delve deeper into the nature of giving. Rav Eliyahu Dessler explains that naturally we only love ourselves. And this is not surprising, as each of us only experiences life from our own individual perspective. I can only know what I want, what I need, what I feel. It takes a lifetime of work to understand another person on this level, and to be as committed to their needs as you are to your own. True love, however, is when someone else becomes an extension of your consciousness, when you feel their needs and hopes and dreams as strongly as you do your own. The love that most people experience does not compare to this ideal. I mean, just think about the way we throw the word love around. Someone might say, I love chicken, but then turn around and say, I love my wife. Can these two experiences really be compared? When a person says they love chicken, do they really mean they love the chicken? Of course not. If they love chicken, then it wouldn't be there on their plate. What they actually mean is they love the way the chicken makes them feel. It's themselves that they love. The problem, though, is that too often when people speak of love, they're referring to this kind of love. More often than not, when we say we love someone, we really mean that we love how they make us feel. And if this is true, then what is the actual meaning of love? And how can we create it? So true love is absolute oneness. It's when individual pieces connect in such a way that they create something transcendent, greater than the sum of the parts. The ideal is for man and wife to experience this oneness in their relationship. And this ideal was modeled in the very creation of humanity. The Midrash explains that Adam and Chava were originally created as one androgynous being, a physical manifestation of a deeper existential oneness. The ideal and goal that we have to learn from this is clear. Each one of us has to strive to build deep existential oneness with our own life partner. Chazal add a layer of depth to this and explain that before a man and wife are born, they exist as a single neshama, a single soul. And when they're born into this world, they're broken apart and exist as two distinct beings. The goal is then to travel the world in search of your soulmate, choose each other, and then rebuild that original oneness. Adam and Chava are created as one before being split apart to model the oneness that we're striving towards as husband and wife. So if at root we're one, but our natural experience in this world is two-ness and multiplicity, then how do we build and develop an awareness of this oneness? So Rav Dessler explains that the mechanism for creating love and oneness is giving. The logic is as follows. We naturally love ourselves. We also find, though, that parents love their children. Why? Because children are an extension of their parents. We love anything that has a piece of ourselves in it because we personally identify with it. We see it as an extension of ourselves. And this is why we find ourselves loving our ideas, our pets, and all the creative projects that we've spent countless hours working on. Because when we invest ourselves into something, we see a part of ourselves manifest within it, which naturally fosters our love for that object, person, or idea. So it's interesting to observe that parents almost always love their children more than children love their parents. However, based on Rav Dessler's explanation of love and giving, this makes perfect sense. Parents give an infinite amount of themselves to their children. Beyond just giving over their physical DNA, they devote endless time, energy, money, and care to their children. And this is also why the Hebrew word for love is ahava, because the root of this word is hav, which means to give. Because only when we give can we experience true love and true oneness. And the donation process at the opening of Parshas Truma exemplifies this process of creating oneness and love. The Jewish people had to give of their own volition, to choose to donate their possessions to Hashem. This is because love and oneness can only be created and manifest through genuine giving. Hashem gave the Jewish people the opportunity to create a bond of oneness and love with Him. Only by giving themselves to Hashem and recognizing Hashem as the source of their existence could the Jewish people truly create this bond of love and oneness. And it's therefore no coincidence that these donations were directed towards the building of the Mishkan, which is the very center of oneness. It's the place where the Jewish people would connect directly to Hashem. So think about your own life. Are you walled in? Are you afraid of being loved, of loving others? Are you living as an ego? or as a soul? Are you expanding outwards, giving yourself to others? Or are you isolating yourself, living empty and alone? Let's be inspired to give ourselves to others, to build genuine love, and to endlessly expand beyond our limited sense of self into true oneness with our family, our friends, all of Klal Yisrael, and ultimately Hashem.